Hello again. Next up, we have Christine GZ, a professional rally and off-road driver currently racing in Extreme E, and Qav Technologies Director of the Motorsport division, Javier Alonso, who will discuss with me how International 100 Electric Racing Championships have an impact on sustainability and equality in mobility, and how they lead to developing cutting-edge technology for the road. Please welcome Christine and Alonso. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Britta.
Christine, you have an amazing career ahead of you and already behind you. I mean, you have an amazing way that you started. You worked as a mechanic, you fell in love with cars, you studied motorsport engineering, technology, and now you're a race driver. How did you get started? I mean, what attracted you to cars?
That's a long story. I think we don't have time for that. No, but yeah, really, it's a funny story because in my family, no one really liked cars or, I don't know, followed racing or anything. And I was living in the Canary Islands, and I saw this beautiful Corolla, like, flying through, like, a road, and I was like, what's that? Like, I had no idea what was a race car. And I just decided every day to go out at the same time and see if the car would come back. And until the car did, after a week. And I just went to the middle of the road and said, okay, eventually it's going to stop, Okay. And I was like, please, can I get in the car? And, in that moment, like, my whole life just changed. I was like, okay, what is this? I just fell in love completely. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, well, I want to become a race car driver. But everyone was like, oh, are you rich? I'm like, no. So they're like, okay, well, good luck. So I said, well, there has to be a way, So I saw that my neighbor was a mechanic and he was building his own car in his little garage. So I thought, well, if I do the same, then I can be a race car driver. So I started by there and then slowly went up. Mm-hmm. I didn't tell my mom at the beginning. She thought I was playing beach volleyball. So that's another story.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, and you've been in different races, like cross-country rallies and in the Canary Islands, also in the US. And now your latest endeavor is Extreme E, and I believe you brought a video for us?
I think so. Can we watch it?
Could we see the video of Extreme E, please? Wow. So tell us why you decided to go to Extreme E and what it is.
Well, Extreme E, it's an off-road radical series, which is 100% electric and it's based on 3 pillars, let's say, which is sustainability, gender equality, and electrification. So it's an amazing championship. I think that any race car driver would love to be able to race and at the same time save the planet, like we say. Of course, we're not doing that completely, but we are slowly, step by step, trying to help and do something. So it's incredible, and like the video showed before, there's amazing drivers, like world champions and legends. For me, they were all idols, and now I'm racing against them. So it's incredible to be there.
And it's one of the first races where you have mixed teams, right? So
yes,
male, female.
It's 50-50. So we have a male and a female in each team. So it's super cool because at the same time we are very important. You know what I mean? Like the time, it is what it is, and I don't know. It's awesome.
Yeah. Javier, you're an iconic figure in racing. I mean, there's probably nothing that we can tell you much. You've been in racing for over 25, 30 years almost, starting with Dorna Sports, MotoGP. what made you decide to go into electrical racing?
Well, I think I like challenges, and I think the world has a challenge right now, and if we can contribute somehow to this change that we all have to do, I mean, that was important for me. And when one friend of mine, Joan Orus, the CEO of QEV Tech, told me if I could help them developing the motorsport area within the company, I just jumped in. I mean, it was a no-brainer.
You just jumped in. I also believe you brought a video for us.
Yeah.
QEV Technologies is a pioneer in electric mobility development, and you develop cars, you develop powertrains and everything, and you have different clients, and one of them is Hispano-Suiza. It's a hyper-luxury car company, I read, and they are also backing up Extreme E. Yeah. Tell me, Javier, what is the connection between a hyper-luxury car company and EV racing? What's the connection?
Well, Hispano-Suiza, it's a brand that was created back in 1904 and was producing cars until the Second World War. It was very luxury cars at that time, competing against Rolls-Royce and big companies like these ones. But unfortunately, they had to stop. So the grandson of the founder decided to relaunch the brand. And of course, nowadays, to relaunch a brand like this, it had to be with electric cars. And we worked together to develop that hypercar, which we are going to produce only 25 cars. That's our target. We have already produced 4 of them, and we have sold 3 of them. So we are going as planned. And the reason why we are in Extreme E with Hispano-Suiza basically is because we want to show to the world that we are back. And the best way to do it would be in a championship like Extreme E, where, of course, it's an electric championship, but also with gender equality, which is very important value for us as a brand.
Well, I would suspect that also the experience that you make during races, the technology that you develop, has an impact on the development of the car brands. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea. Our motto in QEV is from race to road, which is what happens always in racing. I mean, for example, you would probably know that ABS was developed for Formula One, and now all our cars are using ABS. The same is with active suspension, for example. So that is going to happen with electric cars, and there are examples already. We have a fleet of buses in Philippines that are managed from Barcelona remotely, and that is something that we are working very hard right now, because at the end of the day, those rallycross cars that you saw on the video, our plan and our target is to sell them to national championships all over the world. So there is a problem right now where there are not enough electric engineers that know how to manage one of those cars. And as we cannot go to all the races where we will have all those cars, we have to have a system where we can remotely control the car from Barcelona. And this is what is right now being developed inside the QEV premises, for example, to put you an example.
Okay. Well, Christine, I mean, you're a motorsports technology engineer. So during the races, I mean, before, after, during the race, how is your interaction with the developers, the engineers from the team? I mean, you know how the car is behaving. How does that feed back? How do you interact with them?
Well, yeah, I actually studied it because I thought that it obviously was going to help me more to understand, and I believe that it's super important. Obviously, if you know exactly what's going on with the car, to be able to connect with your engineer, and when we're on the radio, there's a lot going on. We're in the race, there's pressure, start line. I don't know if there's a little problem or a light on that it shouldn't be. You can just be like, okay, this is happening. What should I do? Mm-hmm. So it's really good to have that that knowledge. And obviously, he's our team principal, so he also is on the radio all the time. Each of us has a different job, and everyone is so fundamental, And sometimes also, like in the races that Javier was saying, the rallycross, we have a spotter. Mm-hmm. So he basically takes care of like telling you when to get in the Joker lap, or what's going on with the car.
The Joker lap?
Yeah. So you have, let's say you have like 4 laps, and one of the lap is like longer. So, and there's like strategy behind that, because you can decide when to enter the Joker lap. So you can do strategies against the competitors.
But I would imagine that you know how the car behaves during the race. You know how to handle it. Like every millimeter you have to turn the wheel. I'm certain you have ideas what could be changed or what could be enhanced in little details because of the background that you have. How do you work with the engineers afterwards? I mean, is it like a co-creation or ideation where you say, hey guys, I had this idea, should we try this out because it might make sense? Does this happen?
Yeah, we do a lot of testing after that, and it's fundamental for the races. And like, for example, this weekend that we raced after Greenland, we raced in Sardinia. And we stayed there for like 2 more days with the whole team, and we tested the new dampers, and we were talking about like, what we should do, shouldn't do, and then we just go try and then come back. So it's very important, and it's really nice to be able to understand, what's going on, because many drivers are always like, there's a noise, but what's going on? I don't know, so.
Right. Javier, you just mentioned that some of the technology that was developed also was fed into buses that you're now deploying. I think it's a huge project. You've deployed some 50 buses to the Philippines, and there's another 50, 60 coming, and then you're going over to Malaysia. You also have buses in Peru that you developed. Why this difference? I mean, you have the hyper-luxury car, and then you have road buses. That's a big range.
Yeah, we are a racing company. We all start racing. I think right now, with all the knowledge that we have, for example, we are producing our own batteries, which could seem strange, and not many people are producing. We buy the cells in China from the best supplier, but then we produce the batteries. I think we can make a difference right now, and this is why we are starting to produce not only buses, but also last mile trucks and buses, because really there is a need right now of this type of product. And I think there is a gap of 3-4 years where the big marques will come into it heavily, but still there is a gap right now where we can take profit with our knowledge and share that knowledge with the people, and this is what we are producing right now.
I mean, that's a very important point. I mean, we're looking at increasing clean mobility over the next years, but I think that electric racing can do a lot more for sustainability. I remember you were in Italy, planting olive trees. No, seriously, I mean, how much more does the electric vehicle racing community do for sustainability? There's several projects going on. Can you name some?
Yeah, for sure. Like we were saying, Extreme E is not just a racing championship, but it's also a mission. So we have this legacy program during the races, and we are there for like a full week before the actual race. And we are trying to, like in this case, for example, in Italy, we had the wildfires happening this summer, which we all think, okay, in Greenland we have glacier problems and so on, but like in Italy, what problems we would have. And it was insane to actually go and see what was really happening, and be able to talk to the scientists, to the people, to the locals that were living there, and showing like what was going on and how they had no house, and they couldn't do anything else because they live on cultivation, so they don't have anything of that. So it's pretty cool to be able to be part of that. And obviously, like you said, we planted some olive trees, which is not going to save the world, but it's nice to try and help and explain also, by social media. I think it's super important because we have a lot of followers that are just fans of like cars, and they have no idea what's going on. And then we show them that, you know, we are doing this. So I get a lot of messages like, oh, you know, I'm using less water at home because I saw your video. And I was like, okay, good. So it's working, you know.
Yeah. Is this something that you also observe, Javier, that you say that electric racing, and well, you've been in racing for so long, and you know there's a huge fan base, but do you see that the fans really think about and consider a more sustainable way of driving when they attend the races?
I think at the end of the day, sport can have a mission, another mission that right now we are not exploiting. With Extreme, we have started to do it. As Christine said, the amount of followers that we have inside Extreme with people like Carlos Sainz or Seb Loeb, world champions, of course, with Christine, Lewis Hamilton, at the end of the day, it helps us to send the right message. And to have people like Lewis Hamilton involved in something like this, I don't know how many followers has Lewis Hamilton, but hundreds of them, no, Chris? So I think it's part of this legacy program that we have, which is having icon people speaking and explaining why it's so important what we are doing, and getting people to pray with our mission. So I think it's really important.
Okay. Well, for our audience here, Chris, can you share some of the most memorable moments you had during Extreme E racing?
We have a lot of memorable moments. I hope that you don't have videos.
Well, we just want to hear the ones that you can share publicly.
Okay. Javier, I think, I don't know, I think just the fact of like going to these extreme locations, I mean, you know, you've never think that you're racing in Greenland. And like, for example, when we got there, all the team of Extreme E was double the city where we were in, like the little village. So it was amazing to see how the people are like looking at you like, what's going on, you know? And then we had all the week there, you know, going to the glaciers and doing the legacy program. So we were becoming friends with the locals. And then, you know, I remember like they came and knocked on my door and they were like, hi, do you want to come with us to see the view? And I was like, sure. And they brought me and they said, look, this is a muskox, you know. And so I think that there's so much behind this that it's like everything, it's a memorable moment.
What did they think of electric racing in the Arctic, for example? I mean, it must have been weird for them, or did they understand the mission behind it?
Yeah, they had no idea. Well, I think they haven't even seen any normal racing, so for them it was just, everything was so new. But it was really cool also because like with our team, we went to a school and we like installed some solar panels. Mm-hmm. So we are trying to electrify the whole area, you know, and see if it works. Like the good part of this is that next year we can go back and see if it works, and then we can, you know, help more. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Javier, you have some moments that you can share, memorable moments out of the EV racing?
Well, I think, as Chris said, unfortunately we could not race this year neither in Brazil or Argentina due to COVID. We are looking forward to do it next year, but going to those extreme places and sending a right message. Of course, the racing is amazing, and we have seen some images. I invite all the audience to watch those images that we have seen of huge jumps with this beast, as we call it, of more than 600 horsepower. So, yeah, I mean, I think a combination of both things.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you. Best of success for the races, also for you for developing the new technology. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Javier.
Thank you
so much.